Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Gosia and I'm going to show you today how to make very easy homemade bread and also how to make amazing smoked pork tenderloin. Welcome and enjoy the video. So let's get ready the bread. For the bread I'm going to need a warm water. Remember, do not add too hot of the water. The water needs to be warm. To that warm water, we're going to add yeast. If you have a single packet, just add single packets. For me, it's going to be 1 tablespoon and a little bit more of the dry yeast. 1 teaspoon of the sugar. And also a spoon of flour. Mix this. Our yeast is mixed well with the sugar and with the flour. Cover this with the plastic foil and leave it to rise. It should take around 5 to 10 minutes to rise. And one trick with the mixture, I mix it in separate glass because I want to make sure that my yeast is rising. If I add this yeast with the water to my flour and wait half an hour and find out that yeast didn't rise, I'm going to waste the entire mixture for my bread. This way I can toss this one and make a new one. I am not wasting any of the flour. So this is the preventable wasting for me. Let's leave it to rise and I will show you how it looks like within a few minutes. So guys, I want to show you the mixture of the water with the yeast, flour and sugar. So this is how much already rise within a few minutes. So let's add this to our flour. So over here I have 500 grams of the flour. Going to need 1 tablespoon of salt. My bread I also add white vinegar. I have the Modena white vinegar from Trader Joe. 1 tablespoon of it. Here we go. 1 tablespoon of avocado oil. The next thing we're going to need is a warm water. Again, very important, warm water. So for 500 grams of flour, technically you need 300 ml of warm water, but it all depends on how dry or wet, how moist is your flour. So before I add this straight to here, I like to mix that with here because if you can see, there is some good mixture of yeast left behind and I don't like to waste it. So just mix it and add. And now we're going to mix that with our mixer with this attachment. Let's see our bread. Okay, it almost doubled. Let's pull it out. So now the trick with the bread is to just spread this. You can add a little bit of flour if it's sticky. Don't press too much. You don't want to lose the puffiness from it. And now we're going to be folding the bread. So grab both edges and just fold and fold like this. All the way down. All right. Now when we have that, we're just going to grab this end and we're going to tuck it in and really press in so it stays in, and press, roll and press, and roll and press, and roll. And now you can just slide it up and it's going to hold, see, and it's holding the structure. All right, now press it again. I'm going to do this twice. Okay, one more time. Grab edges. Now it's not going to be that easy, but you have to do it as much as you can. Here we go. And again, roll and press, roll and press. Okay, roll and press. And now just pull. This is how they do it in the bakery. They just roll and press. Here we go. This way you are tightening up your dough. Here we go. And that is ready. See, it's all sealed and the dough is very nice and bouncy. All right, now I have my container for my bread. Okay, I'm going to pick up my dough and I'm going to drop it this here, and this is going to be like this, down. My shower cup, and I'm going to cover it and I'm going to hold that for around 10 more minutes. It's going to rise a little bit more and I'm going to start prepping the oven. Okay, so the bread is rising, so now we need to get ready our baking dish. So I always use this baking dish for making my bread because it has a cover. Right, to get ready our baking dish, we need a parchment paper. And for that, I'm going to drop this parchment paper. And what I like to make is like a circle. So this way I know where it's supposed to be the bottom of the parchment paper. And then I cut some extra side and I'll show you how it should look. So this is ready. So this is what I like to do with my parchment paper. So then when I'm going to knead my bread inside, I have that like this. Here you go. So this way I know that my bread, it won't get stuck to the baking dish. But for right now, I'm going to pull it out. Okay. Before I drop my bread in my baking dish, I put this baking dish into the cold oven. Very important, cold oven. And I set my oven for 420 Fahrenheit. My oven needs a little bit higher temperature. It's not calibrated correctly. So I know that it needs a 10 Fahrenheit more than usual. So it's going to be in the cold oven until the oven temperature is going to match 420 temperature. Then I'm pulling it out hot and I'm placing my bread inside the hot baking dish. Then I'm closing this baking dish and putting it back to the oven, and I'm setting the temperature for 10 Fahrenheit. After the temperature is 410, I am setting the time for half an hour, and I'm baking this bread in covered dish for half an hour. That's very important to have that dish covered for half an hour. Half an hour mark is done. I'm taking off the cover and I'm leaving my bread for 17 more minutes at 410 Fahrenheit without the cover. Very important, without the cover for 17 minutes. And I want you to make sure that the oven is cold. Now let's turn on the oven. Alrighty guys, the oven is ready. Let's pull our baking dish. Ooh, it's hot. Let's pull this off. Let's drop this bread with the paper in. Quickly cut the bread. We're going to put the cover on and we're going to slide this into the oven. All right. Bread is ready. Now, very important part, we need to pull this bread from the baking dish. If you leave this bread in here and it's going to get colder, it's going to collect so much moist. It's going to collect so much moist that it's going to be very soggy. It's not going to be crispy. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but this is what you want. All right, let's pull this on our rack and leave this on the rack until it cools down. Okay, so let's prep the meat for the brine. So for the smokiness, I like to remove any kind of fat that is on the meat. Before I start the brine, I need to check the weight of my meat. So per 1 kilogram of the meat, I add 18 grams of salt, and that's including my curing salt. So for my curing salt, I usually, for this amount of the meat, I usually add like 22 grams. The rest of the salt is the regular plain salt. You don't want to add iodine salt. Just remember that. So see here, that pinkish color, I'm not sure if you can see it, is that curing salt. That other salt is a plain salt. Actually, that salt is from Poland. I brought that on my last trip. So we need to add this to our container. Usually I have a big container for my brine, and now I'm going to fill it up with the water. Don't fill it up all the way up, because when you drop that meat, you are going to have too much water. So I usually fill up to here just to make that salt dissolve in that water. And it's mostly dissolved. So let's add the spices. For the spices in my brine, I use allspice. How much? I never measure. I just drop. Something like maybe less than that. Something like this. Here we go. Another thing we need is the laurel leaf. And unfortunately, these are my last pieces, so I'm just going to add like few crushed ones, something like that. More thing, I'm going to add the whole black pepper. I have a mixed pepper. Here we go, something like that. Is the marjoram spice. We're going to add this meat into that container. Then we added the garlic. Number one is the taste reason. Garlic is antibacterial. This meat I am going to keep in a refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. In the brine for 4 days. Have a cloudy water and smelling bad, toss it. Don't use that kind of meat. Before I pull this out, I always have a plate with paper towel on, ready, and hooks. this on, then this is how it's going to smoke. So every piece is going to be having a nice smoke color, but when you lift this, you're not going to have a color on when you smoke. Always inspect every piece of the meat, just in case you see somewhere something that is not supposed to be there, or discoloration that you don't want. So on that hook, I'm going to put it closer. On that hook, you have two ends. One that is flat and one that is very sharp end. So this end, we are going to thread in through that meat. And try to thread it in like a little bit more in, like that. So when it's going to be hanging, it's going to be hanging it good. You're not going to lose the meat on. So like that. Alrighty guys, so the meat is ready to put into the smoker. Thing I do for the meat, I put this probe for temperature on two of my meats. So the smoker, my husband made these racks for me, two of them. I have one more on the side, so I can hang my hooks on it easier. And another thing what I do for the smoker, this is the dripping tray. I put over here the aluminum foil and the paper. Why I put the paper towel? Because all of this meat, the wet stuff, is going to drop on and it's going to go on the paper. Leave this meat on without smoking it for at least 2 to 3 hours. It's already dry. You don't need this paper anymore. Smoker. Here we go. So I want my temperature to be 175 Fahrenheit. So this is the actual temperature that's going to be on. And my probe is showing that right now it's 55 Fahrenheit. But I got used to smoke on a Celsius, so I'm going to change this to a Celsius. I am going to raise the temperature to a 200 Fahrenheit. So the meat is ready to pull it out from the smoker. Turn it off the smoker. Here you go guys, meat is ready. The bread and the meat is ready. Let's try. Amazing. The bread is crunchy outside and soft inside, very fluffy, airy. And the meat, it's juicy, not of a smokiness, but it's not like overwhelming. It is amazing. If you guys have a smoker, definitely you have to make this kind of meat. And if you want to make your own bread at home, try this recipe. You won't regret. This is the very easy and the very successful recipe for the bread. I want to show you how juicy this meat is. I'm not sure if you can see how juicy it is. You can see the juices coming off. This is how well that meat is done. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you like the content, please subscribe and press the like button, and I will see you next week with a new video coming. Bye. Because it has a cover, never mind. Woo! Okay, so szukasz, co? So get ready our